Dear brothers and sisters, today I want to invite you to listen to a special story about a young woman named Karen. At 30, the brightest age of youth, Karen was living fully with her passion for design and her eyes always full of dreams. However, a sudden illness blurred everything, not just before her eyes, but also her future. Cataracts, an illness thought to affect only the elderly, struck Karen when she was still very young. And then, a miracle happened. Not a flash miracle, but a journey woven by faith, a mother's prayers, and love that never gave up. Today, I, Father Johnny, would like to tell you that story, the story of Sarah and her beloved daughter. It's a journey that not only healed her eyes, but also rekindled her heart. I'm Sarah, a mother like any other, with a heart full of love and pride for my daughter. Her name is Karen, and she just turned 30. She's a beautiful, independent girl, always full of life. In Karen's eyes, there's a passion for living, and in every step she takes, there are great ambitions. She works as a graphic designer, a job that demands creativity and an eye for sharp detail. For years, Karen poured herself into her profession, her dreams, and all the plans that hadn't yet taken shape. But then, one day, darkness began to creep into her vibrant world. It wasn't an external darkness, but something silently forming within her own eyes. Eyes that once shone with passionate vision. Cataracts, a seemingly simple name, became a haunting reality. Blurry streaks appeared more and more, light became a dazzling blur, and everything gradually grew unfamiliar under her gaze. As someone who lived by sight, Karen now faced the risk of losing what was most precious to a designer, the ability to see clearly in detail and in full color. And from that moment, my daughters and my journey began, a journey not just of fighting illness, but also a search for the light of faith, as everything seemed to gradually dim. Initially, when Karen complained that everything in front of her was becoming blurry and hazy, I simply thought, maybe she's working on the computer too much. She's a designer after all, staying up late, adjusting colors, drawing every detail. Eye strain is normal. But then, day by day, her eyes didn't improve. They got worse. Karen began to say that familiar lines became distorted, colors were no longer as vibrant as before. And light, which was once an endless source of inspiration, now only caused her eyes aching pain and discomfort. I took her to see a doctor, and then the doctor's words swept through my heart like a cold gust of wind. She has cataracts. Cataracts? I was confused. Isn't that a disease for the elderly? Yet now, my daughter, only 30 years old, had to face a condition that was gradually taking the light from her life. I turned to look at her. Karen sat silently, her lips tightly pressed. But I knew, inside, there was a storm raging. A designer who lived by her eyes, by colors, by every small detail, now had to live in shadows. How could she continue to pursue her dreams? How could she maintain her faith when everything she loved was slowly fading before her eyes? And in that moment, I knew my daughter and I needed a different kind of light, not one that came from her eyes, but one that came from a faithful heart. Karen was a strong girl. From childhood, she always knew how to pick herself up after every fall. As her mother, I was always proud of her independence and resilience. But in the days following her diagnosis, I saw that Karen's eyes no longer sparkled with life as they once did. She still looked, still talked, still worked, but something was missing from those eyes. Her smile, once the brightest light on her face, now became rare. She tried to appear fine. But how could a mother not notice? My child was frightened, exhausted, and losing her way. As her mother, I wished I could take away her blurry vision for her. I wished I could do something concrete. heal her, erase all her pain. But I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't someone who could give her back her sight with my own hands. But I could do one thing I believed was more powerful than anything else. I prayed. I began to pray every day, not just for her eyes to see clearly again, but for her heart not to lose hope. I prayed for Karen's spiritual eyes to always remain bright, even as her physical eyes grew dim. Because I believed that if she still had faith, still had hope, she hadn't lost the true light in her life. I am grateful to God. Not because everything went smoothly, not because my daughter's illness vanished like a miracle, but because Karen is my daughter. I am grateful that she was diagnosed in time, that we no longer have to live in confusion and doubt. Grateful that she still has a chance for treatment, even if the road ahead may be long and challenging. I am grateful that every morning when she wakes up, Karen can still see the sunlight, even if that light is no longer as sharp as before. I am grateful that those faint rays of light are still enough for her to feel that she is alive. And most of all, I am grateful that I can pray. In a world where I can control nothing, prayer is the only way I can believe that I am still doing something for my child. Not with my hands, but with my whole heart. With the faith of a mother, believing that God is walking with my daughter and also embracing me, who is silently praying in the quiet. Every evening when the lights in the rooms were out, when the whole family was asleep, I would quietly sit down in the old rocking chair in the living room. That chair had been with me for years, every wooden crevice worn by time. But whenever I sat there, I felt like I was returning to a familiar place, where I could let go of all worries and talk to the one who always listened. I closed my eyes, my hands clasped together. No need for flowery words, no need to speak loudly. Just a silent conversation, yet filled with all the deepest things in my heart. I prayed for Karen. I prayed that her eyes would not only regain their sight, but also be strong enough to overcome the blurry days ahead. I prayed for my husband, who always appeared strong, but was also quietly filled with worry. I prayed for my youngest child, the one who still didn't fully understand what was happening, but still innocently asked, "Mom, will Karen be okay?" And then I prayed for myself, asking God to grant me patience, to be a mother who loves completely, even though my heart sometimes cracked with fear. My prayer wasn't a voice of weakness, but the sole source of strength that helped me continue through each day. And every night in that old chair, I offered not only my worries to God, but also my gratitude, because we still had each other. "Merciful Lord," I whispered in the darkness, "I thank you for giving me Karen, a precious gift, a light in my life. Now that light is fading. She faces a great challenge with her eyes, with her profession, and with her faith in herself. Lord, I offer Karen to you. Please lay your hand upon her eyes. If it is your will, restore her sight, but if not, grant her the strength to endure the dim days ahead. Grant her courage so she won't be afraid to go into surgery. Grant her patience to get through the slow days of recovery, and hope so she won't lose herself amidst the changes that are slowly happening." And I also didn't forget to pray for the doctors, the people who would directly touch Karen's eyes. I asked God to grant them skillful hands, sharp minds, and compassionate hearts, so they could not only heal her physically, but also bring hope to my child. I prayed for my dear husband, who always tried to appear strong, though I knew his heart also held unspoken worries. And finally, I prayed for myself, asking God to give me enough strength not to collapse, enough faith not to doubt, and enough love to always be a steady support for our entire family. I am grateful to you, Lord, for my family's enduring love and bond in the easy days, and in the challenging ones. I am grateful that these very hardships have made us realize the value of light, of a bright morning, of every moment seeing the faces of loved ones, of gazing at a flower, a cloud, a final ray of sunshine. Please help us hold fast to our faith, even when everything becomes blurry. May our hearts always shine bright with hope, even if our eyes cannot yet see the miracle. Karen entered the operating room. As the doors closed, my heart felt like it was being squeezed tight. I sat in the waiting room, where cold white lights stretched over sterile chairs. My hand clutched my rosary beads, each bead, each prayer, like the heartbeat of a mother. Every Hail Mary I whispered was a plea sent, not to the indifferent ceiling, but to the most powerful and loving being. Each minute felt like a spiritual battle. The prolonged wait wasn't just a test of patience, but of faith itself. But amidst all that tension, I knew God was there, not loudly, not ostentatiously, but silently present within me, listening to the fervent prayer of a mother entrusting her beloved child into his hands. When the operating room doors opened, the doctor approached, took off his mask, and gently said, "The surgery was successful." I froze for a few seconds, then couldn't hold back. Tears streamed down my face. They weren't tears of fear, but the tears of a mother who had just stepped back from an abyss of anxiety to touch a hope as bright as dawn. The next day, when the nurse removed the bandages from Karen's eyes, she opened them, blinking repeatedly, then suddenly exclaimed, her voice trembling, "Mom! I can see clearly now. I can see colors so distinctly." I embraced her. In that hug was an entire journey of faith and tears. My heart overflowed with gratitude, not just because her eyes were restored, but because throughout that journey, from blurred to brilliant, God had never left us. I knelt in the small room, still clutching my rosary beads, and whispered, "Lord, I thank you for this miracle. It's not just restored sight, but the light of faith you've ignited in my heart and in my family's." Even though Karen's eyes still needed time to fully recover, and she still had to be careful in her daily activities, the miracle had happened. Karen was back at work with vibrant designs, clear colors, and the joy of creation. Watching her diligently work at the screen, her eyes shining as if there had never been any blur, I knew God's grace was there in every tiny detail. And I still sit in my rocking chair every night, my hands clasped together, gently closing my eyes, and continue to pray. Not out of worry, but out of deep gratitude. I don't ask for as much as before because I understand a miracle isn't just something that happens in an operating room. It's something that is happening every day, in the heart of a mother who trusts in God. Dear brothers and sisters, after listening to Karen's story, a young, talented woman who faced an illness blurring the world she loved, what are your thoughts? For me, Father Johnny, I clearly feel one thing. Faith doesn't make all suffering disappear, but it gives us the strength to walk through it. What touched me most was the image of the mother, Sarah, unable to heal her daughter, yet persistently praying every night, trusting that God was silently present. And it was that faithfulness that sowed a miracle, not just restored sight, but a family's heart lit up with gratitude. This story reminds us that every silent prayer, every patient tear can reach the heart of God. And even if the light fades in our eyes, if we keep the light in our souls, there is still hope. Father Johnny thanks you for listening. And if this story touches anyone weary from illness or trials, please believe God is never absent. Dear brothers and sisters, if today's story has touched your heart, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who needs a glimmer of hope. Don't forget to leave a comment below, perhaps just a simple, I believe God is still here, or a short prayer for your loved ones. You never know, that small share might uplift someone who truly needs it. Father Johnny wishes peace and the light of faith to always remain in your hearts.